Just a short time ago, the White House announced the president tested negative for COVID-19 after coming in contact with a Brazilian official who was infected. Let's bring in former White House physician and congressional candidate, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, also a retired Navy Rear Admiral. Dr. Jackson, thanks very much for being with us. Given what happened with the Brazilian delegation and with the press secretary from Brazil's presidential office testing positive for coronavirus, was it appropriate for President Trump to take that test?
Well, John, I'll tell you, I think the president's trying to, abide by the same rules that we're going to apply to everybody else in this country with regards to testing. And to be honest with you, I don't think there was a clinical indication for him to get a test. I think that it was much like the situation that I was in, if you remember back when I did his physical exam, his first physical exam, and I did the cognitive testing. There was no indication for the cognitive testing either. But there comes a point where the narrative is all about just that, and you have to do something just to move on to whatever's next and actually put it to bed. And I think that's pretty much what happened here. I don't think there was a clinical indication to do the test. I think that they looked at where the president fell with regards to risk based on his exposures. And I think that what they ultimately decided, and I think the president had a big role in this, just like he did when I did the cognitive testing, he just said, hey, let's just do the test. Let's get this over with. Let's put it to bed and let's move on. I mean, he's working hard to try to take care of our country here and keep us all safe. And I think, the press, some of the liberal press and those on the left have really spun this up. And we have other things we need to move on and focus on. So I'm glad that he got the test done. I'm glad that it's negative. And I hope that we can move on now and stop trying to make political hay out of this and just and carry on.
We just put up some of the bullet points of the contents of this Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And there they are again. Is there anything else that you think should be in the legislation?
Well, I can't see what you have on the screen there, but I think that the legislation's good. Based on what I know about it and what I've read, I think that there's probably stuff in there, that was forced in there. I think, that's kind of what upsets me as just an American here is that sometimes there are folks that are using the crisis like this for political advantage and to get things into legislation that maybe shouldn't be in there that don't necessarily address the problem. So I'd have to look at everything, but I think from what I've heard with the testing and the access and things of that nature, I think it's probably appropriate. And I'm sure the president wouldn't have, signed off on it if it had not been something that's appropriate for what we're facing.
The president also has declared a national emergency. I want to play for you now some of the reasons that he said he decided to do that. Listen.
Yesterday, I declared a national emergency, which was a very big deal because it opened up avenues that we would never be able to open up without it. It will make more than $50 billion available to us immediately in disaster relief funds.
I'm still struck by how much life is changing in this country as a result of this virus that, although it has killed some people, it's a relatively small number, and primarily elderly people and people who were, had underlying medical conditions. In a couple of weeks, in a month, are we going to look back on this and say, we went overboard on this, do you think, Dr. Jackson, or are these steps simply prudent?
Well, these steps are prudent because we just don't know, but I hope you're right, and I think you are right. I think we will look back on this and say that we overreacted a little bit. I guess it's better to be safe than sorry, in some regards. But, I think that this thing's been spun for political reasons, and I think that a lot of people have really gone overboard with it, just, and create a lot of fear that doesn't need to be there. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm talking to you here from Amarillo, Texas, and I just went to a St. Patrick's Day parade in Shamrock, Texas this morning, and folks here are not getting too spun up about it. They're out there, and there weren't a lot of elderly people out there, so people are protecting their grandparents and their elderly parents, making sure they stay home, and they bring groceries to them and do things like that. But the rest of us that are young and otherwise healthy, we're getting out. We're not letting this really just destroy our lives, and it's having a big impact on the economy. And we need to be able to get out and be together to some extent. Now, we're taking precautions. We're washing our hands. There's a lot of hand sanitizer out there, things of that nature. But I think that we will look back on this, John, and we will see that this was a little bit overblown or quite a bit overblown, hopefully. And we'll be able to move on and do better next time.
Yeah, when you look at the store shelves that have been cleaned out, you look at the athletic seasons, competitions that have been canceled,
yes,
universities that are canceling classes, to me, it's unbelievable what is happening as a result of this virus. Quickly, yes.
I would say if you look at this potentially going on for weeks and weeks, we can't sustain something like that. So we need to figure out how to take a reasonable approach to this. And I think we've gone a little bit too far too fast with the cancellations and the things of that nature. The president is working really hard with a really great team to protect us, and we need to trust him to do that.
Unfortunately, in this litigious society, people don't want to be held responsible for, getting this thing passed around. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, it's good to have you on. Thank you.